We're live. Okay, we're going to have a fantastic show today. I'm super, super excited. So welcome, Mr. Heller, and Tanya is with us. And so I'm going to let, as always, Mr. Heller explain to us what in the world, how do we know Tanya, and give us a little background on her backstory, if you can, please.
All right. Well, she'll fill in many of the blanks because I haven't memorized her bio. But I've known Tanya, you know, again, I've known Tanya a very long time. And I don't remember when we met. I don't remember not knowing Tanya. But she's simply charming. She has she's done so many interesting things. And what I really respect, and this will come up eventually in the thing, is much more so than I. You're so very open and honest, even on social media. And I refer, particularly the time when you were having some relationship issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decided, you know, then you put some of it. Was she writes very funny.
I put it all out there.
So you put it out there, and then now are you still with the same fellow that you finally met?
I've been with the same fella for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the meeting him story was pretty much a social media event because you had it out there and that kind of stuff. But from a background, Tanya's worked with Deyan Audio now. Lovely Deborah Deyan. We'll talk about that. Tanya's had her own company for a while. She's a award-winning, Audie-nominated narrator. She's put out her own, a lot of her own stuff. She's a force to be reckoned with, and we're just delighted she's able to join us today. She was sick last week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, but she's back now. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, which you won't hear, for Tanya Eby.
Hi.
And so I have to ask some questions. So this is so funny. Most of the time we'll get people on here who they do a lot of producing. Some of them have come from the engineering side. It's one of the things that Johnny and I have really kind of been like, really? That's kind of weird. And they're great producers. They do a great job casting, but you seem to have a different backstory. As I'm looking through your bio, you were a big time narrator for a long. I mean, it's crazy how much you've done in the narration side of things as well. Now that you're doing casting and directing and that kind of thing. So how did you start out as a narrator? And it goes back years because I see you won an Audie Award in 2017. So my math, let's see, that's 7 years ago. Look at that. I did that in my head without my fingers. I'm so proud. So how long have you been narrating? How'd you get started with this?
Yeah, I think my first books were in 1999.
I remember that.
So if my math is right, that's like 25 years. And I started in radio, doing radio commercials in Michigan. And then I found out that there was an audiobook company close by, which happened to be Brilliance. And so I recorded my demo tape for them. It was a tape.
Yeah.
And sent it in. And eventually, after harassing them and doing things that you really should not do and would get you fired and blacklisted, they hired me. And I've been working on and off for the last 25 years.
Wow, that's super cool. That's super
Yeah.
cool. And so for you out there in the audience who think, oh, these directors, these casting people, they have no idea I would say you're kind of an exception where you've been on both sides of the mic. So what would be one of the first things so let's say I want to get to you, I want to be on your radar. I want you to
Yeah.
know that I'm the best narrator that you've seen in west of the Mississippi, maybe. And how do I get on your radar? And well, let's ask that question first. Okay.
Yeah. For me, anyone who's telling me that they're the best narrator out there, I'm immediately going to be suspect of.
Oh, darn it.
Um,
Darn it.
so
Darn it. I was going to tell you that. Now you've blown my whole weekend. Okay.
right. The approach with me is to be a little more like, I'm trying really hard. I really want to get my stuff out there. I tend to root for underdogs. So contacting me through social media, through an email is a really good way. Meeting me briefly in person, knowing that I will probably be overwhelmed and awkward. That's oh, sorry.
Puppy? Is your
Those
kid?
are my dogs. Yeah, those are my dogs. And someone's at the door. So
You have to
hold
get
on.
it. Want Don and I to vamp for a minute?
Okay, sorry about that. So meeting me through email, on social media, in person are all great ways to open that conversation.
Now, Tanya, here's
Yeah.
what I've always wanted, because Don brings up the fact that so many people come to the creative side, and by creative I mean the casting side. Now, I know you're an actor, so
Uh-huh.
she's very good. If you haven't heard her, she's really wonderful, and there's so many things to talk about. But I find, and Don and I both found, that so many people who begin as editors in audiobooks
Uh-huh.
end up in the production side as casting people, and I find that a lot of people who are actors now, when they meet, when they meet someone who's an editor, technical editor, they don't appreciate the fact that that person's future can be and likely will be on the casting side. So there's some questions about, you know what I mean? So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, there's a recent social media post where somebody's doing something, and the person they're meeting, and I don't know if she's right or wrong, but the person she's meeting is an intern right now. I think she said in social media.
Okay.
And I said, well, if you're paying for it, that's maybe problematic. But if you're just meeting someone, everybody starts where they start. The first time I met Tanya Eby, you hadn't won your baking trophy.
Right.
I didn't know that was it. I didn't know you baked. As a matter of fact, now that I do know, I'm a little disappointed in the lack of cookies at my front door.
Right.
So I mean, what do you say to people in terms of advice on when they meet someone, and of not being too judgmental of where they are, because who knows where they'll be?
So I would say that everything in this industry is networking. And while we are really good friends with each other, every person you meet is a relationship to cultivate and be kind about, for exactly the reasons that you're saying. You don't know where that person is going to be in a week, in a year, whatever. And you can't predict how your relationships are going to be beneficial to you. So you have to be really careful about burning bridges. And if you make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes. We all screw up. Try to own those mistakes, take responsibility, try to fix things. But we all want to meet the superstars, and we want that great thing that we think is going to happen from meeting someone, but it's not always linear. So yeah, I would say just keep an open mind, and you just never know what's going to happen in the future.
Are you still in Michigan?
I am.
In Grand Rapids?
Yep.
I have to tell you, I visited there once, and I was doing some recorded books used to send me, as you know, out to speak and stuff. And I think I saw you when I was out there. That is a fantastic town. I mean,
It
apropos
is.
of nothing, I think it's great. It's a cool town. They got great restaurants, fantastic bars. It's really, I had not been there before, but I think it's cool. You live in a cool place.
Thank you. And there's actually a really vibrant narrating community.
Was Brilliant
here.
still there?
Brilliance is still out in Grand Haven, but most of us have branched out nationally. But there just happens to be a lot of us here.
Tell us about, there's a number of things I want to ask you. First off, can you guys hear me now? There's some questions about my volumes.
I've been adjusting that.
Don, okay.
So by the way, so sometimes when so you throw in a comment, and then I adjust. You should hear about it, next time he comments, and then throw in something else if it's still not right or it's still good enough, just so I have a because I don't hear the exact same feed as you do because we're in real time.
Is my volume okay now out there in watching land? There's somebody saying.
Would you like me to shut off his camera and we just hear him?
All right.
Anyway, all right. And they're behind us about 40 seconds, so you just have to keep going, and then okay, cool.
Sounds okay. I'm all good.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so
you're pretty.
I have a number. I have like a list of questions for Tanya.
Do it.
One of them is, and this is not probably the most important to everybody out there, but I think it's fantastic. You can see this on YouTube and stuff. Will you tell the story about your baking show win? Will you tell us? Just you're so cute when I fell in love with you when you won. I fell in love with you on the way to winning. It was just you're adorable. That's all there is to it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was on Netflix. Nailed it. Holiday season, and it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. I'm still friends with my co-contestants. We met. We just kind of fell in love with each other through that whole process, and we send updates and pictures and stuff like that. And it was a crazy experience. Really fun.
What was your award-winning dish? Was there such a thing? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I made this 3-tiered penguin cake that was supposed to be plaid on the inside, and mine was like stripes. And I was inspired to make all the penguins different without realizing that penguins are basically all the same.
Yes.
And I think mine was the least worst of the 3. So
the road to victory.
Right.
Don't suck as much as everybody else. You're there.
I think is a life lesson that you can apply to audiobooks. You can get gigs if you are the least worst.
Yes.
All the people.
Yeah. Well, that happens all the time. Well, so what do people do if they send you something? So I just met you. If I were to send you something, what are the few things I could do that would actually make it less likely that you would cast me, or that you would be impressed by me? Because I'm the greatest, and you need me, and without me, you are nothing. Is that a good approach? Is that a good approach?
Not for me.
So what are some of the things that you do see? Because I imagine you get a mix. You get some great people who do the right approach, and then what would be the few things that I should really avoid doing if I'm contacting you and I want to be a narrator in your, in your world?
Yeah. For me, I just want you to be a real person. I want you to tell me what your accomplishments are, what your background is.
Bragging.
Tell me things that are useful, like what's your heritage, what language skills do you have? Provide me with links. Make it easy for me. And let your work speak for you. You don't have to tell me how to interpret that work. I can do that.
Now, your original company, when Blunder Woman, yes?
Yeah, Blunder Woman Productions.
Does that still exist?
It does still exist, and I still do some producing on the side occasionally. And I'm keeping it up and running in case I have any passion projects that I want to produce, which I do every now and again.
Can we talk about the 2 that I know of? I mean, the first one, as I recall, was Nevertheless We Persisted.
Yep.
What brought that about?
That was kind of a political response to the Me Too movement that was happening. And I just wanted to give people a chance to tell their stories, and then to have narrators participate and interpret those stories. And it was a really rewarding. We actually did 2 versions of it, and I think they were both, or one of them was, maybe both were nominated for Audie Awards.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud that it got so many new people Audie nominations to be celebrated, and they were just very satisfying productions.
And what was the mystery one called again?
I've also done some original collections of stories. That one was called Wrong Turn.
Wrong Turn. I don't remember the name. Yeah.
So yeah, I like to give new writers a chance to shine, and I like to give narrators a chance to maybe show themselves in ways that other producers don't think of them.
Well, you gave me a chance to write my own and narrate my own story. It was really lovely. I was wonderful to get to,
Yeah,
understand,
and
do
it
my
was a
own
great
stuff.
story. Yeah.
So
And I will say that if you look in people, the audio awards are coming up. Are you going to be there?
I am.
Yeah, I'll be there. And everybody says, "Geez, how do I get an audio?" I want everybody to understand. Tanya is an audio. I've got some audios. We've got nominations. I don't think it's made a single bit of difference in somebody giving me a job or not giving me a job.
That's
It's
true.
always nice when you work in a booth all by ourselves, like we all do, to dress up in whatever your best outfit is, or
Hmm.
whatever you consider it to be. Your really nice cargo shorts, and then go to the Audis or go to the Sovas or go to these award ceremonies. And a lot of people complain, nah, nah, nah. It costs. Yeah. Do you have to pay to go? Yep. Do you have to
Hmm.
pay to put your thing? Of course. Everything's a money-making thing, but this celebration, it's just a damn good time. And
Yes.
there's a lot of negativity, which I understand. This year, as we said at the beginning, either you're Deyan Graham or you're a movie star or both, to get in. And you know what? I wish more of our yeoman narrators were nominated than who may be wonderful. That Tom Hanks is wonderful, and Weird Al Yankovic, who can put down his acting chops. I can.
I know. I know somebody who would do that. Yes.
but either way, the point is when you there's an argument to be made, and we can talk about it if you want. I don't want to put anybody in a. I don't mind saying exactly what I think, but I think that bringing in star power, like Rosamund Pike came last year and won,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's lovely, she's wonderful. It's cool that she's there, and she may come again. She's nominated again. But bringing in the star power to help the celebrity power to help really make this a big event. I understand the reasoning. The
Hmm.
other side of the coin, though, is that it takes away some of the wonderful narrations that our fellow actors do who aren't movie stars. And also, this business is booming regardless of a movie star not being involved. So the question is, do you really need to do that? And I don't know what's right or what's wrong. All I know is, I've won some Audis and you've won Audis. I'm not really sure how you make that choice. Is Johnny Heller doing a mystery somehow better than Tanya Eby doing a cooking book or something? I don't know how you make that call. But I guess I'm bringing up all
Yeah.
this award stuff because it's upon us now, and people have some, unfortunately, negative views about it. And I just think
Sure.
I'd like to see awards for everybody who gets a job, but I think people have to realize getting the job is an award.
One thing I like about the Audis is when I go, I'm not nominated this year and I'm going, I still feel celebrated. It is a really unique event where we all get to come together um, and celebrate the job that we do. Also, keep in mind the purpose of the Audis isn't for narrators, even though we would like it to be, right?
Right.
It is to sell more books. And selling more books in the industry means they get to produce more books, means we get more work. So if that takes bringing in celebrities, that will get someone to listen to their first audiobook and it opens the door to them listening to Johnny Heller or Tanya Eby or whoever else, I'm all for it. And those stars do great performances and they sell books. So it is disappointing when, you give, like, I submitted my memoir, The Tuesday Girl, which I think is probably the best work creatively of my life, blending narration and writing, and it wasn't nominated. So, of course, I'm sad about that, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's the best work of my life.
Absolutely.
Um, and I'm going to celebrate that whether or not I have the medal on. And I hope everyone that is there, if you've been before, it is a vibrant, exciting, um, uplifting night. And I would love to see that continue.
I think that's a wonderful take on it. I will say that I got a Sovas in humor for Tommy Dash, which is the funny Bill Sheft, who's the head writer of Letterman and a fellow stand-up back in the day. It's the funniest book. It's just the funniest book. And so it didn't get nominated for the audience. I'm thinking, and my attitude about that is the same attitude I have when you send a note, Johnny, they went a different direction,
Uh-huh.
which is, well, they fucked up.
Right,
So
right.
that's my, anytime I don't get what I think is coming. On the other hand, I don't mind I'm okay if I have another, award on the. It doesn't make any difference. I think Simon Vance, his house is literally it's made of audio words. His whole house. That's all it is. So unless you're going to do that, you don't really need these things. And I think your idea of celebration of everything that this is what this is all about. And if you look at it that way, let's just enjoy ourselves.
Right.
That's
right.
what I think.
So I have a question. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tanya.
Oh, I was just going to say, I would like to see the audio awards maybe highlight 5 narrators a year who are professional narrators who have made a really significant impact on the industry. And I think that would be really cool way to celebrate less famous narrators that have lifted up our industry.
Do you know somebody who was on the board for that or anything?
Well, hopefully somebody's listening.
Okay, cool. All right. So somebody says, so we're going to transition here. So Jim asked a pretty cool question. And how much do you rely on searching the Deyan? How do you pronounce that? Deyan?
Deyan.
Deyan. Okay. Baarns and his pronunciation. Stanislavski, for those who know. Okay. So how much do you search that database? So you're casting something and you don't have somebody in mind for it, you're out looking, or maybe you do have someone in mind. Do you go to your database? Do you look at people who you haven't considered before? How do you go about that process of narrowing it down? Do you first start with Heller and then work your way down the food chain? Heller's busy. Or do you just say, here are my top 3? What happens? So someone's just ask a great question. Do you have a database?
Yeah, Deyan has a massive database.
Okay.
And that is really helpful in finding new talent. But if your search terms are things like, I need a male who's in his mid-50s, you're going to get thousands of responses.
Oh, okay.
So it really only helps to search when it's a narrow enough search.
Right.
In terms of casting, what will happen is I will be reading a script and I'll have the casting directive where I kind of know the type of person they're looking for. And usually I will hear a couple of narrator voices in my head, and I'll write them down. And then the next thing I do is I think of who's recently emailed me and told me that they were available. I like knowing who is available because it saves me time in reaching out and then waiting 2 days and hearing that someone isn't available until June. Well, if I already knew they were available, then that saves me a step. And then I also do research on Audible, on articles, looking for specific type of talent, or someone catches my eye on social media. I might research their stuff and make a note of it and save it for later.
Okay, so my question about that is, so you have somebody in mind, and now this database, I'm not in your database, by the way, for good reason. But anyway, how do I get in your database? Is that something that anybody can join? They go through some people, they make the contacts, and then they're added? How does that process work?
So you can reach out to Deyan Audio, or you can do this with other companies, and you give an email listing, like I said, all of those things that make you unique or help you shine, with your links to your website, to your samples on your website. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and ask if you could be on the roster or considered for auditions. Sometimes we will invite someone immediately onto the roster. Sometimes we'll wait and see how they do with audition process. So there's a couple of ways that can happen, but you can still get auditions and not officially be on the roster.
Deborah Deyan is one of my best friends because Bob, Deborah, and I were so close with Joanna and stuff. So when I found out you were at Deyan, when did that happen and how did that come about that you became casting at Deyan? And are you still also narrating?
Yes. So that happened almost a year ago, back in March of last year. I just saw that they were hiring, and I've been there's a lot of changes in the audiobook industry. So I had more holes in my schedule, and I love the challenge of casting. It was my favorite part of running my production company. What I didn't love is taxes, payments, anything with math.
Yeah.
So working for Deyan, I get to do what I love, which is casting, without the stuff that I don't love. There was the second part to your question that I think I forgot.
You're still narrating too, right?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I'm still narrating.
If you get a book
Um,
across the desk and you say, geez, the right person for this is me, can you just do it?
no.
What's the
No.
point of having the gig then?
Right, right. But I could do all of them. So
Right.
Yeah.
then there would be no work for anybody else.
That's what
No. I try not to. I don't put myself forward for things that I'm casting unless they have specifically said we'd like to hear from you. I do occasionally audition for other titles that other people are casting, but very infrequently. And usually, if they need someone who has an availability, like they're having trouble finding somebody else, then I might step forward.
Can we also talk about your article about auditioning? But did it come out today? Was it today?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I posted something this morning.
Yeah. So
Now,
tell
where
us
did you
about.
post it? Where did you post it?
So I have a Substack. If you look on Substack, Tanya Eby, it'll pop up. But if you follow me on social media, you'll see I provide links on Facebook and LinkedIn and sometimes Twitter.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the points that you mentioned in the article, without taking away our idea to read it?
Yeah, no. I just try to. I think communication really helps everybody, and I think that there are things in the industry that feel like secrets that really shouldn't be, and one of them is casting. And I just talked about. What did I even talk about? I can't even remember. What was it?
Let's say I auditioned. Okay, you've got a book.
Yeah.
And you put it up for auditions. Now you, if it's not an open audition, you're going to select. How many people would you select to audition that you have in your mind?
Oh yeah. So the audio, I've already forgotten the article. The article is about how much of an audition do you actually listen to? And I said that there's two main ways. If it's an open call, we can sometimes get 100 to 200 auditions depending on that time frame. So if it's like on Ahab, you can't listen to all 5 minutes because that's like 16 hours of listening.
Yes.
So you can only listen to a little bit. And then the second way is a targeted audition. When I have a targeted audition, I will reach out to you with a list, with an invitation to audition. And usually that maxes out at like, it's 6 to 10 people that I'm inviting. If I'm inviting you to audition, chances are stronger I'm going to listen to all of the audition.
Okay. And then is it your decision these days, or is it you and the author or the author's agent as well?
Well, I think part of the frustration people have with casting is they want casting to always be the same, and they want it to be the same for every book and across every platform and with every producer. And that's not how it is. Every book is different, every producer is different. So sometimes an author will come to us and say, we want this person. Well, that's easy. They might say, we would really like to hear this person and whoever else you think of. They might say, we don't care who it is. You guys just pick it. Or they might say, please give us 5 auditions. So there's a range, and it varies from title to title.
Gotcha. So give us, if you don't mind, give us a general. Here's Tanya's typical day.
Yeah.
No, go ahead and give us your typical day.
Oh no, you don't. You don't want to know my typical day.
No, the work part of your day.
It's chaos. It's controlled chaos that I find very invigorating. If I have a book like today, I was narrating, and in the morning I wake up 5:30. By 6:30, I'm in the booth. On my
But in the
breaks,
morning?
Mm-hmm.
Mad woman.
I check email in between. I might do casting stuff in between if I'm in the booth. I'm done with narrating by 2. I'm spent, and that's when I do the rest of the business of my day.
Have you gone out? Do you go out to see? You're going to stay at Deborah's house, and when you go out to the Audis?
Oh no, I'm going to stay at a hotel.
Okay, because you've been to Deb's, right?
Oh yeah,
it's a freaking mansion.
I know, it's amazing.
I'm blown away every time I go there. Yeah, here's a story. Last time I went there, they know I enjoy bourbon because I do. So she didn't know what kind I liked. So that she has a one, maybe she changed, but there's one, she's got a bar set up in there with, it looks like a damned hotel bar.
Right.
And she had bought, I think, about maybe 15 different bourbons, not knowing which one I would
Uh,
like. Now, I was
uh-huh.
only staying over a couple nights.
Right.
She's so extravagant. I love her. I think she's wonderful. I really, really like her. Just saying. So, she is what's in Tarzana, which seems like a long way away from anything, but it isn't. It's a great place. I don't know why I'm saying all this. I just happen to like her. Yeah.
I do too. She's a very giving person and genuinely cares about people and finding out who they are and what they like. And
Yeah.
that's really a unique thing.
She's very honest.
Hmm.
I think that's why you guys connected so easily and so readily.
Yeah, I think so
You're both
too.
straight shooters. Yeah, here's something
Yeah.
from Andrea. But how does one find auditions for Deyan Audio if you're not on the roster? Is there a way to? How do they even know you put it on Ahab?
We do occasionally post to Ahab. Yeah, those will be our open call auditions. I think I've posted 4 or 5 to Ahab.
In what time
Um,
frame?
What do you mean? What time frame?
Meaning you've done 4 or 5 over the last 3 months, 2 years?
Oh, just over probably the last year that I've worked.
Okay.
So maybe 1 a month.
Okay. So that's not
But
the majority of yours. You're majority looking in your own database, correct?
that's correct. Mhm.
Okay. And then, so do I directly email that to you, or there's an email address that a bunch of people look at and then decide who goes into the internal database? How does that work?
So we have a team casting email that you can email. I don't know that I want to say that
Okay,
online, but
that's fair.
people can reach out to me.
Mhm.
And that is the best way, is to email us and get looped into our roster.
Okay.
And to get on one of the casting team's radar. That's how you get auditions.
And if I might add, or you can certainly jump on this, Tanya, but
Mhm.
you know, everybody who's watching this show and everybody and all narrators, all actors always want a job. That's
Right.
Sure.
the nature of the beast.
Yes.
And I find it quite surprising that when they reach out, they being the actor in general, not you specifically out there, but in general, they reach out to someone like Tanya without taking a moment to research Tanya at all.
Right.
Who is she? What is she? You're on most casting people in one way or another. I mean, there's obviously exceptions to every rule, are on social media or out there somewhere. And if you follow Tanya on social media, she's very funny. She's very funny. She's sweet, and she tells you her whole life story. There's nothing. She's very open. There's no artifice, so you can learn about her. And it always amazes me when people don't take it like the baking show, something like that. I got to tell you, I think you'd be more interested in a letter that said, "I saw you in the baking show. It was just wonder." Everybody wants to talk about themselves. So why
Right.
wouldn't you turn it around and think about how nice it is for somebody to hear about themselves from you? So if I said, Tanya, I saw your article. I really
Mhm.
appreciate everything you did. That's a lot nicer than, Tanya, can I have a job?
Absolutely. And I also encourage people, like, I am attending this with you guys and talking to you. So anybody who writes to me and mentions that they saw me on this, I'm probably going to pause and give them a little more energy than I might 100 others,
Right.
because I made this attending this and giving this my time and energy a priority.
Right.
So it's also it's good etiquette, it's being more human, and it's showing that you respect what people are offering to the community.
And I'm going to also guess if someone meets you in person one time because they took the time and the effort to go to some, and I just think this is always the case. We're at these
Mhm.
I go to these Heller events, and I just think, if you're contacting one of these casting people and you say, hey, we met at the New England Narrators Retreat, we met at the Audies, we met at
Right.
whatever, it does show that I'm actually doing my part to be part of the community, to be out there. And I think that if we had made a personal connection, even if it was a quick one, hey, saw you there,
Yeah.
you look great, love to what I appreciate what you said at this point and that. That's a whole different relationship than just an email. Because how many emails would you get in an average week-ish? Could you even 3, 6?
1,000?
Okay.
I
So that means you
mean,
respond to each one personally, right?
I do not. Right.
Oh, wait, you contradicted me there. So you get 1,000 a week. That means I really need to expect I may never get an answer, and that's okay, correct? Or should I just send you a message next week that says, "Hey, I thought you would contact me and we'd do lunch"? No.
Well, I do like lunch. I
Oh,
mean, that is,
okay.
I mean, I am a fan of lunch.
All right. Well,
Um,
that'll be my next email
here's
to
the
you.
thing, like, casting people, we want to take the time, but again, it's a math thing, right? So if I get 1,000 emails and an email takes me 3 minutes
Right.
to read and respond to, that's 3,000 minutes in a week, and I don't even know how much time that is. So I don't respond to everything. But if I am scrolling through my emails and I see in the subject line, follow up to Johnny Heller's North England or whatever
Yeah.
New England.
retreat, New England. See, I don't even know. New
You,
England
you want to
retreat.
know more about it, Tanya?
I do want to know more later. If I see that in the subject, read it and probably respond
Right.
because that's a human thing.
Okay.
So
I'm going to tell you more about it later.
And
okay.
also, just for reference, I did the quick math. There's 1,000 minutes in a week, and so you have plenty of time to respond to all those.
Is that right? That's not right mathematically.
It's
is it?
10,000.
That's not right.
Sorry. Anyway,
Yeah, I can't
but
be
point is, you're not going to, and therefore, in most cases, and I think this is true for anybody in your position, you need to have multiple contacts with me. Like, let's say, here's what I guarantee. If we had never met before or had no contact, and we have this one day and we spend an hour here, in 6 months, you will barely remember me unless we've had other contacts, simply because of the numbers of people that you interact with on a regular basis. I don't care that we just spent an hour here on this video. If that's our only contact, because I just
Right.
have people, I'm not going to remember them, or they meet you at the audience this time, and then they don't interact with you for 6 months to a year. You have met thousands
Right.
of people in that interim, and I don't mean to be rude, but I don't remember somebody with one interaction. It's a multiple. And is that so? How often should someone contact you? I send you the first message tomorrow. Say, so you were on this show. How often should I follow up with you? Once every 3 days? Once every? What's realistic?
So
Okay.
This is Don's style, by the
so
way.
so I would say an email every 4 to 6 weeks with
Okay.
your updated availability.
Okay.
But you have free range to interact with my posts on social media.
Ah.
So, when I was coaching for a while, and I was trying to tell people that when you like a post,
Mhm.
your name flashes up,
Right.
right?
Right.
So they see your name and it gets in there. So you haven't had to have an awkward conversation or anything. You've simply liked their post. But you do that enough times and they will recognize your name.
Right.
There's a peculiar thing that has happened to me and probably you, Johnny, and many other people who narrate, where after you've narrated a book, or like with the article this morning, you don't remember characters' names anymore. I can't tell you the main characters of the book I was narrating this morning because I encounter so many names. And this applies to meeting people too.
Right.
Names are really hard. So anything on social media, a like, a comment, or whatever, is a way to get your name in there in a way that is appropriate and not crossing lines.
Right. And I will say comments, I don't mean to interrupt there. Comments are a bigger deal than just a like, because you will find that I have that on articles or things that I post things about this show, for example. People will like it. What they don't realize is, 25 people, 30 people like, but I only see a few of them. Where when somebody said a comment that just says, cool, looking forward to it, enjoyed last week's show, or something specific, that's a much bigger thing to stand out to me than somebody that just says like, because like is almost like, hey, I found a penny on the floor. I don't mean to, it's kind of, it's helpful and nice, but a little comment that's actually shows that you're paying attention. So if someone says to you, hey, love the article and also saw you on the baking show, that's going to be a different type of relation. Oh, they're
Well, and
actually
it's almost
researching.
like you can kind of think of these things as little seeds that you
Right.
plant.
There you
And
go.
each time you like or comment or interact, you're watering that seed so that it can grow. And I
Okay.
have I have cast from meeting people who have interacted with me simply because their comments have been interesting enough that I then searched out their website.
Okay.
Or I was like, who is this person? They're kind of interesting. I want to find out more. And I've listened to a sample. So that's worked with me.
That's happened to me at least with 3 different publishers that I've responded to their email, to their social media posts.
Yeah.
And I, you can't, if you got to do it, Don said, like is nice, but not as good. But you can't write ditto. You've got to put a little effort out there.
Well,
a little personality.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
nice.
So let if you like Tanya's personality, and I can't imagine not, let her know what your personality's like. And people are attracted to the same. Tanya's outgoing and effervescent and funny. You don't have to be that, but appreciate that about her. And your comments on her social media posts, don't comment just because you want her to hire you.
right.
See what she says. If you don't like her, don't hold off. Wait till she says something you do like, and then jump on that.
Yeah. That last, I got to amplify that.
Yeah.
Johnny just said something that's gold, and Tanya said a bunch of things that's similar. They're both saying, wait till you have a comment that is in context and is sincere, because if it's not, don't do it.
Yeah.
And that way you actually, and then sometimes,
I also enjoy the process of baking.
Yeah. yeah. Well, that's why I wouldn't be commenting. Well, fun if I'd seen the show, I'd say, hey, that was really cool. Enjoyed that. But then the comment needs to be in context of what's going on and be relevant. And I don't need to comment on everything just because I want a job. It's comment on the things that make sense and build it. And I don't need to do all of it this week, do I? I mean, if you don't know me this week, is it over?
Yeah. So narration is a long game, not only in the act of narrating, it takes a long time, but in getting jobs. And it's these touch points that accumulate that are helpful over a long period of time.
Okay.
Yeah. So if Tanya's on social media and she says something sad happened, don't say, I love your baking show. That's not connected.
Right.
Go back to Rachel's thing, because here's Harry. Go back to Rachel's post you put up, because I think that's valuable. And then we'll go to Harry's. Rachel said something about she's relatively new.
Yep.
See that, Tanya?
Yeah. Okay. So 6 books and counting. What is the right time to request to join your casting database? So I'm brand new. 6 books. Do I reach out to you now?
I mean, 6 books is pretty new.
Okay.
I would say I'm more comfortable with 10 books.
Okay.
I think whenever you reach out, some people are ready right away, but
Why?
They're ready because maybe their ability with tech is they're on it, or maybe they've been acting for years and they're on it. And maybe they understand the industry and the lingo and they're on it. Okay, go ahead and reach out. But if you don't know what punch and roll is, if you don't know what it's like to get pickup packets, if you don't know and trust your own ability with technology, and you're going to need to have your hand held, it's not time for you to reach out to publishers. It may be time for you to work with indie writers. Coaching is probably a good idea, but make sure that you're ready so you can be at your most professional when you reach out to publishers.
Okay. So, and it's kind of like there does need to be some self-awareness, it sounds like. And by the way, so I'll just put out a little word here. You used to coach, correct?
Uh-huh.
And so did you see people so what would your advice be to me as somebody newer? I'm going to contact you. At what point would you tell me? So 10 books is kind of that would be arbitrary. 10 books that are an hour long, or 10 books that are 10 hours long? Does it make that's the one thing.
I mean, so again, everybody wants there to be a hard and fast rule. There isn't a hard and fast rule. If you're super good at this, if you're super talented, if it comes easy to you, maybe 1 book is enough.
Okay. But on average,
maybe 50 books is where you need to be. Okay. I would say on average, 10 books tells me that you've done this enough time and completed a project enough to know how the system works.
Okay.
It's sort of like, we don't have audiobook college, but to me, 10 books is like you went to college and you got some basic training.
would you be impressed if I drop some name and I actually like, all right, hey, I studied with Heller for the last, and I gave you a solid. I've been studying with Mr. Heller, and I've worked with him for 6 months regularly. Would that make any difference to you?
Yeah, I mean, I respect people who've tried to get an education, who are pursuing this in a way so that they know that they're following etiquette. There's a lot of unspoken rules, and so I trust I trust coaches are going to help. And if someone tells me I'm new in narration, but I'm working with Johnny Heller, so I can go to him with any questions that I have, that's great, because I don't want to have to lead you in this process. I want to hire people who are already ready to go. And if I know that you've already got that support and you can go to Johnny, that's awesome.
Yeah. And for the audience, don't take one session from Johnny and then start telling everybody I've studied with Heller, okay?
Just take one session of me, then start coaching. That's the idea.
Well, yeah. Well, we do see that.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a difference between somebody that has a relationship with any coach that has gone through and done a few and are working at it, or picking another venue to become educated, and somebody who's just dabbling in it and they've done one with Heller, but don't tell others that until you've actually gone and he's gone, yeah, this is great, and here's what your next steps are. So, and then any other good things that I should be telling you about what I've done, my acting background, my tech background, do you care about that? Or is that all that afterward, as I've built up a little bit of a relationship with you?
I mean, what I care about first is the quality of your audiobook demos. If I go onto your website and you have a music bed under your audiobook demos, and your audiobook demos are 10 minutes long,
right,
then I'm going to say you don't understand audiobooks.
Right.
If you have your demos separated by genre and they're short, and it's just you narrating and you're showing me the full range and skill, I'm going to say you understand and respect audiobooks.
Cool.
So that's what I'm going to look at first, is your talent and your ability, and then I'm going to research other things. And no, a lot of this is trust. A lot of this is getting that first gig, which is great, but doing a good job so that you get that next gig and then you get on the treadmill.
Can you define doing a good job? So I have multiple facets of a good job. That means I'm going to be a good actor. It means I'm going to be late on I told you it would be in February 1st, and I submit it. I call you that day and say, oh, I'm sorry, I have a sore throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that go?
So people get sick. I got sick last week,
Yeah.
and I really struggled with canceling or not. And then it was decided because I literally had no voice. So people do get sick, and we are understanding of that. What we're not understanding of is people getting a better job. That
and they tell you that? They didn't even make up an excuse?
Oh, really?
Yes. I had this opportunity, so I need to go to Florida to pursue this. Okay, we'll get your book in first before you pursue the other work. There's lots of, I've encountered a lot of things that have been a concern to me in how people act. Not in terms of audiobooks, but just
behavior.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I
so be communicative, be on deadline. Don't trust your gut. I've hired you because I like your acting skills. So you don't need me to micromanage your performance. Trust yourself. I'm trusting you that you're going to give me a solid performance. Do your research, or use the research that is provided to you. That's doing a good job.
If I can add something about the communication issue, which I find that a lot of actors don't seem to pay enough attention to. When Tanya or another publisher hires you and books you, here's her stack of books Tanya's got to do. So and once they're out, she has other books to look at. Once she's given the book to Don Baarns, she doesn't need to hear from Don Baarns till the book comes in and they do the retakes or whatever. She can't micromanage. That's not her job. It's not her time. Your communication has got to be I'll be honest with you. Here's an example. Joanna and I are doing a book together. Joanna got what Tanya had. She's sick. She had laryngitis. The day that she began to be hoarse and not able to speak, we notified the publisher that she had laryngitis, and we had to, because it affects the turn-in date. Now,
Yep.
we all know, or should know, there's generally a little wiggle room in these dates. They're not always in stone, but you don't need to be aware of that. Turn it in the date you're supposed to turn it in, but let them know anything that may get in the way of that date, because they know that Joanne and I, they know that Don, they know that Tanya can get the job done in the right time. But if somebody has laryngitis, clearly they can't record.
Mhm.
Let them know so they can be aware, so they don't just think you're late.
Right.
Communication, that's the kind of communication they need. But in the middle of the thing, they don't need to hear, you think I should bring my voice a little higher on this character than the other? That's all you, man. Don't be, as I've said before on this show and in my classes and in my workshops, you have got to be an answer to their problems, not another problem. Otherwise, then you're not going to work anymore.
So, Tanya, do you think they should call you when they want the pronunciation for Slaniskolovsky, or should they call a coach?
You know, I'm going to switch it to Meisner for you because it's easier.
Well, first off, I hate phone calls. So phone calls are not a way to communicate. But yeah, you should do your research. But it's okay to reach out with questions. Just not every question that crosses your mind.
Right.
Try to problem solve what you can problem solve, and then reach out for support when you actually need it.
Okay. So here's somebody that just asked a question. Do most newer narrators underestimate or overestimate their ability to compete in the audiobook narration?
Overestimate.
I'm the
Completely.
best. I can do it. I can do it. Please, please, please.
Not only that, but it's not even that. It's not even hubris. It's more like I read to my kids every night. I'm a great reader.
Oh.
Or I've done voiceover work for 40 years. You have, but audiobook narration is different.
When you say, I read to my kids, I get a lot of people emailing me. I'm not an actor, but I read to my kids every night. Well, keep doing it.
Yeah, and
right?
Plus,
awesome.
It puts them to sleep. I'm wondering if that's a compelling reason to hire me to do an audiobook, that I put my kids to sleep by reading them.
It was funny when my kids were little, I would try to read to them and I would do voices, and they were like possessed. They hated it. They hated every minute of it. So I never told anyone that I read to my kids, because it was like I was killing them. But there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with reading to your kids. That's great. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be an awesome audiobook narrator. It means you're a good parent.
It's weird if you read to somebody else's kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
Well, and I do have and also, so that's one of those things that reading to your kids every time says you may be really actually good at reading because you've done it for a long time. And my wife has a theater degree, and she did read she homeschooled all 5 of our kids and literally read every day to them and did character voices to them while she was, in between doing theater as she was younger and then doing a whole bunch of audiobooks. And it did help her, but she doesn't go telling people, oh, the reason I'm good at this stuff is because I read to my kids. That just was part of her thing. So there's nothing wrong with reading to your kids, but it may or may not mean anything. They're not the best audience and they're going to sleep. So it's probably not a great thing on your resume.
Well, and it's different when you're in the booth and you're also having to press all of the buttons and think of pronunciation. And it's just a different, vibe. I don't want to discourage new performers. I've had a lot of bad experiences with new performers who have been rude or careless or didn't understand etiquette. So I want to encourage people to get coaching, to make sure that they are moving through their career with kindness, doing the right things.
Well, so I hate to go negative here. What do you mean somebody's rude? How would they be rude?
Oh, shut up, Big Nose.
You could have said shut up, ugly. That would have been more appropriate.
I find you strikingly handsome, Don.
Yeah. You and my dog. So Tanya, but one simple example or two of how could someone be rude to you? What do you mean they're rude?
They might audition for a gig knowing the rate, accept the gig, and then I go to schedule it, and then they say, I want more money.
Oh.
And what that means is, sure, that's a power position for the actor. but it
Once.
puts me in a position of having to go back to the entire team and ask for more money, and it reflects very poorly on me that I didn't get the right price quote. It's very rude.
Okay.
And I think you should be upfront about things. I've just also in people's communication, I've had people just in their wording, how they speak to me. You should have a level of respect, and even though we are friendly and we may even be friends, in
Right.
your business communication, you should still be formal and businesslike. Maybe I'm old school, but
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely
not.
right. You know,
You're-
when I've talked to publisher, let's say you come to me with an offer and you say it's whatever the number is. And if it's
Mhm.
not my number, I will always say, I'm very interested in this title. Is this rate locked in stone, or do you have some wiggle room here because it's below mine? And then you can tell me. If you say no, it's got to be that, or we can do another little bit more, or whatever. Because every book has a separate budget.
right.
So if you say it's $200 and I say I need $500, we're not going to come to an agreement. But if
Right.
I say, listen, can you raise it $25, $50 possibly? And if you can't, then I can decide, do I want to do the book at the money you offer? Because you're not trying to shortchange me. And I'll also say that other companies I've worked for, sometimes I'll say, "Yeah, we have a book for you at this much per hour." I say, well, my rate is this much. Oh, okay. So the budget was
Right.
there.
Yeah.
But you need to be polite, and professional. Oh, write
Right.
that down. About how you do that.
But also, you don't do that all the way at the end after she's cast you, do you? Because that would be the
Before I
best
even
place to do
audition,
it.
before I
Okay.
accept the book
Okay.
or audition,
Yeah.
right up front, because it's not, as Tanya said, that's totally unfair.
Yeah.
I'll do by the way, you got to double, just, blow it out your ass, dude. I'm never going to hire you. I would.
Well, and Tanya, but you also right up front are telling them, if you're trying to cast Heller for something, you are saying, by the way, this book is at this amount. You are actually have already given the hints of the budget for it and what you're expecting, correct? Is that
So what I
relatively
say,
early on?
yes, I say that with the audition notice. This
Okay.
is the rate that we are offering. If you have a different rate with this publisher, just let us know.
Okay.
But as a producer, I have to work within the budgets that are given to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not being rude to people and offering you a project that is under your rate. Don't be offended by that. I'm offering that at the rate because that's the rate I'm supposed to offer it at. You, as a performer, have the power to say, my rate is different.
Yeah, but you want that early in the communications, not
right.
all the way at the end after you've said, okay, Heller, you can do the book. And he comes back, no, I will for double that. That makes no sense.
Right.
Well, let's also add this point really quick, and we'll get to Rachel's question. It's great, but real fast. If I say to you, Tanya, you say, here's the rate, and I say, geez, I can't do for that. And you say, I have no room. And I say, I can't do that for you. I'm sorry. There's no negative feeling there, right?
No,
That's
because
how
you've communicated that. And then I know that for the next time.
See,
and I'll make sure that, every publisher, every book has a different budget. The next book might be fine with that.
Yeah, see, that's what I want people to understand, that you can, if you said, hey, this is my rate, and someone offers you below, you have the power to say no.
Right.
You can't say yes
absolutely.
and. It's not like a Chinese restaurant. Yes, and it's either yes or it's no, but there's room to negotiate. And if there isn't, it's okay. I can't work for you.
Yeah, and assuming you're
I did
professional about it.
see a question that I do want to answer. It was about home studios.
Yes.
Yes, we mostly hire home studios, but you will find that this is becoming a trend industry-wide. Most people have home studios. If you don't have a home studio, please tell the casting director that from the very beginning, because if they have to hire a home studio or they have to hire a studio for you, it's an additional expense and they might be willing to pay for that, but it will really affect the budget. Unless you're recording at their studio or at Deyan's studios, then it's not so much a big deal, but it's just something that needs to be communicated right at the start.
But I'm going to guess here, you have so many people that have home studios. Unless you're a Heller level person, I doubt you want. If I call you and say I don't have a home studio, wouldn't your first impression of me be, sorry?
Well,
Or
it's less work for me if you have a home studio. If you don't, I have to coordinate a whole bunch of other things. including adjusting budget, scheduling, all sorts of things. So for me, it's easier if you have a home studio.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't have a home studio and they have to do it for you, you've got to be Weird Al Yankovic level to get that kind of treatment.
Yeah. Okay. So
I,
no,
I like that guy. I don't know why I'm
Yeah.
dumping on him. I do.
no, and I just think it's
I like you, Weird Al. I do.
it's become the norm that people have home studios, and that's part of what would have you think I'm actually know the industry, I'm working at it, and I've made some investment in it too, because I put together something that's also high quality. So no bait and switch. Anyway, so anything else that you want to tell people? Should they contact you after this? By the way, you're gonna get a flood of people if you do this.
Yeah.
So
And tell us again how to
Of
contact
course.
you if you want to be contacted. You don't have to give your email, but how best? I'm watching this show and I said, yeah, I want to reach out to Tanya. How do I do that?
Yeah, sending an email. You can find me very easily online on LinkedIn. An email is better than I've gotten some videos from people, and I'm
What?
afraid to press play, so
That's
I won't press
creepy.
play. Right.
Oh, that's
But,
so creepy.
An email or interact online is a great first start. Or if you see me coaching or at a casting event, come up and say hi. I am very awkward in person. It's not personal. It's just that I have some issues, but it's
like
a great way
Johnny.
to meet me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Johnny's awkward in person.
Same person.
Okay. I think all of us are a little bit, awkward in person. So what? Because, I mean, it is true. We
It's
all are a
human.
little bit at points, and then we pretend, we put on our little, this is the way I am, and that's kind of thing. But it's still nice to come up and say hello. And if someone's met you in person, they're 10 times more likely to be hired than somebody that hasn't put in the effort to be at events where you're at. And I imagine that's in your social media. You're saying, I'm going to the audience. I'm not. You may not say you're not going to something, but anything you are going to, you're going to mention that. Maybe?
Yeah, I think I already mentioned
Yeah.
even today that I was going to the Audis.
Okay.
Anybody,
So-
and Tanya, anything you want to plug before we bid adieu to everyone?
Probably my Substack, if you're interested in reading about stuff I write about, or my my memoir, The Tuesday Girl. I'm really proud of that piece.
That's great. Don, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, and this afternoon, so every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, I do just a tech-related thing called VO Tech Simplified-LIVE, which it isn't. It is actually live. So I do that every Tuesday, same channel. So if you haven't joined me there and you're interested in some tech-related stuff, be sure to ask, because you can same as you do here. You can ask questions, and I do that every Tuesday. That's a new show for me. So I'll leave that for now.
All right. And
Mr. Heller, anything to plug for you? Hey, you don't have anything going on, I know, but
No,
maybe tell us about one of your upcoming
just-
events.
Just these three things, real quick.
Okay.
Scott Brick and Johnny Heller, the Audiobook Business Workshop on March 3rd in LA. My New Orleans Splendiferous Retreat in early May. Go to my website, johnnyheller.com. That should be a lot of fun. And the New England Narrator Retreat, Tanya, will be October 14th to October 17th in lovely outside Boston at the Warren Center. And I'll be opening registration earlier than normal for that because they want my money quicker than normal. So there.
And Tanya, did I put the correct Substack link in there?
Oh.
Is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That looks right.
Yep.
Thank you.
By the way, so I use this fancy tool that most people don't have access to called Google. And I went during the show and I grabbed, and what did I do? I actually put her name in there. And so some different social media. So once you mentioned Substack, I saw the right entry and I went and grabbed it. And now I will read some of your other articles, and I recommend that you do that and get a feel for what she's doing, and then just wait. By the way, and here's another thing, the final bonus tip before we close. If there's going to be today 20 people that send her a message, okay, and that's just going to be normal. If it's me, I'm going to wait a week or so. And first off, there's no perfect time, but I'm not probably going to do it like 3 minutes from now, because I just know a lot of people will do it, but just kind of spread it out, do it at different times. And there is no perfect time. No matter when I do it, I might not reach her, and that's okay. And if she doesn't respond, I'm going to wait. And you said 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Did I get that? Do I remember that right?
4 to 6.
4 to
Mhm.
6, okay, and then I'm gonna tell her, you know, send a nice note that's appropriate, because now in that 4 to 6
What the
weeks,
hell, Tanya?
I've researched and paid attention to her social feed, so now I have another 4 to 6 weeks worth of information and found something that made sense for us to connect with, rather than just sending random stuff. That use your time between those communications to learn more about the people. And you should have a little list of a half a dozen casting people in different places that you are working on at all times, so that you're not just going, wow, when did I do it? And keeping track. But don't send her something every week and don't expect a response. Mr. Heller, any final things?
No, yeah, take a look at Don Baarns OnlyFans. That'll be enjoyable. And
Yeah. That's
and
a
we'll see y'all here.
non-starter.
We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all here next Tuesday.
Who do we have?
Who's our? I forget.
Well, I know we have Love.
Is it Iris?
No,
Jane Love.
Jane Love.
Jane Love.
We
Which
have Love.
I
We
gotta
have
ask her
Love.
about that. I gotta ask her if
Yeah.
that's a stage name. Anyway, but here's a cool thing. I think I would want to know in this day and age the value of the unions. And she is from SAG-AFTRA, and she's going to give us some insights as to where that's going, and some things that you can do to enhance your career, enhance your life, and you know, have some insights without you having to do your research on your own, and then have some things you can research afterward. Because I know Heller, part of the union, I know lots of people, okay, and I know lots of people both sides. Anyway, it'll be a great conversation, and thank you for coming on. Last week she canceled, and you know what? She was awesome about communicating with us. Hey, I am losing my voice, and that worked out great. So thank you for being a fantastic guest today. And of course, for everyone, pass this on to your friends, subscribe, be sure to let other people know this is going on. We look forward to seeing you on the wires again next week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, all. Thanks, Tanya.
Bye.